Something happened at Talladega this weekend that nobody saw coming. And the name at the center of it isn't a full-time NASCAR driver. It's not someone who grew up racing. It's someone who built an empire online, turned a YouTube channel into a motorsports brand, and is now standing at the edge of something that could either define his career or end it before it really begins. And NASCAR just made a move that stopped him dead in his tracks. But here's the thing, that's not even the part that has people talking. Before we get into all of it, hit that like button and subscribe. We are closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and every single one of you is part of this. Now, let's get into it. Talladega Superspeedway. Just the name does something to you if you know racing. It's not just a track, it's a place where careers are made, where dreams get shattered, and where the most terrifying and beautiful things in motorsports happen at 200 miles per hour. This weekend, 3 major series are converging on that same strip of asphalt. The Cup Series, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and the ARCA Menards Series. 3 races, 1 venue. And somehow, the biggest storyline of the entire weekend belongs to a guy who got told he wasn't allowed to race in one of them. His name is Garrett Mitchell, but you probably know him as Cleetus McFarland. And if you think you already know this story, you don't. Not yet. Cleetus isn't just a content creator who decided to try racing on a whim. That narrative is too simple, and honestly, it's disrespectful to what he's actually building. This is a guy who owns his own racetrack, the Freedom Factory in Bradenton, Florida. A guy who has spent years obsessing over motorsports, while most people his age were obsessing over follower counts. He stepped into ARCA competition back in 2025 with Retta Jones Racing, and he didn't embarrass himself. He was competitive. Top 1-0 finishes, a strong run at Charlotte, a promising result at Talladega itself. For a guy with limited professional experience, people started paying attention in a different way. Not like a novelty act, like an actual driver. So heading into 2026, he was building momentum. He had a partial ARCA schedule locked in. He was making the right moves. And then came the plan that changed everything about this weekend. He was set to race in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series event at Talladega, his second career start in that series. On one of the most unforgiving tracks on the planet, and NASCAR said no. Just let that sit for a second. NASCAR looked at his entry and said he wasn't ready. Not for this track. Not yet. The official reasoning was framed around safety and development. They want him building laps on shorter tracks first. They want more time in ARCA. More time in the Craftsman Truck Series, before Talladega gets to decide what kind of driver he really is. And on paper, that logic is sound. Talladega isn't a track you ease into. It is pack racing at terrifying speeds, with paper-thin margins and outcomes that can turn catastrophic in under a second. The experience gap matters there more than almost anywhere else on the schedule. But here's what nobody is talking about. He didn't fight it. He didn't post an angry video. He didn't go on social media and turn it into a war. He looked at the decision, said it is what it is, and immediately shifted focus forward. No drama, no controversy, just a quiet acknowledgement and a pivot. His second O'Reilly Series start is now scheduled for Nashville next month. He's got more Truck Series races already on the calendar. The path didn't close, it just rerouted. And that's the part that changes how you see him if you've been watching from the outside. But wait, because here's where this whole thing gets another layer entirely. Even though NASCAR blocked him from the O'Reilly race, he is still at Talladega this weekend. Still competing, still suiting up. He'll be running the number 30 car for Retta Jones Racing in the ARCA Menards Series race, the Alabama Manufactured Housing 200, on Saturday afternoon. That marks his third ARCA appearance of the 2026 season. And this time, there's a second name in the story that matters just as much as his. George Siciliano, known to the community as LS George, or Squirrel McNutt. George has been part of Cleetus's world from the beginning. He's been there for the chaos, the builds, the moments that built that entire audience. And now he's racing too. Not as a passenger in someone else's story, as a driver carving out his own path. And this weekend at Talladega, these two friends will be on track together for the first time as legitimate drafting partners on a super speedway. Think about what that actually means in the context of this track. Drafting at Talladega is everything. It is not a tactical bonus. It is survival. It is strategy and trust and communication compressed into milliseconds at 190 plus miles per hour. Having someone in that pack who you genuinely know and genuinely trust isn't just an advantage. It's a completely different race. And they've been building to this moment together, which brings us to the part of this story that hit different when I heard it. There's a promise behind George being here this weekend. He and Cleetus had made a commitment to honor their late friend Greg Biffle by reaching this level, by competing at Talladega, by showing up on that track and doing the thing they said they would do. So when George got the approval to race here, it wasn't just a milestone, it was the fulfillment of something personal, something that doesn't show up in the stats or the entry list or the owner point standings. And that weight is riding with him into Saturday's race, whether the cameras catch it or not. The last time we saw both of them race was at Kansas, and it wasn't a clean story for either of them. Cleetus hit a mechanical failure. An oil line issue sent him spinning through turns 1 and 2 in the kind of moment that reminds everyone watching that racing can unravel in an instant. He finished 20th, not the result he wanted, not the narrative he was hoping to carry into Talladega. But George went the other direction entirely. Running his first race ever on a track longer than 1 mile, he came home 12th. A legitimate, earned, nobody can dismiss it, 12th place finish. He's not a sideshow. He is someone you need to start paying attention to. Now zoom out for a second. Because the ARCA race they're entering isn't just a backdrop, 41 teams attempting to make the field. That means not everyone gets in. The top 36 inches owner points lock in automatically, and the remaining spots get decided by practice speed. That tension alone, before the green flag even drops, is real. Joe Gibbs Racing leads owner points, with their number 18 car starting from the pole. Their driver, Gio Ruggiero, is hunting for a 3rd consecutive win after taking Daytona and Kansas. Jack Wood is coming in with something to prove after leading 39 laps at Kansas and still not getting the result. Bobby Earnhardt is carrying a name that Talladega has a very complicated relationship with. And Nitro Motorsports is showing up with a 5-car entry that could reshape how this entire race unfolds. Talladega historically does not repeat itself. There hasn't been a repeat winner in nearly 2 decades. The track finds a way to surprise everyone every single time. And one of the most famous moments in ARCA history happened right here. Zane Smith edging Joe Graf Jr. by an officially recorded margin of 0 seconds. Not close. 0. That's the kind of place this is. Later Saturday comes the O'Reilly Series race, the one Cleetus was supposed to be in, but won't be. And then Sunday brings the Cup Series showdown, the Jack Links 500, with its own entry overload situation, meaning at least one driver won't even make the starting grid. Casey Mears is set to make his 500th career Cup start, an absolutely massive milestone in a sport that rarely lets you reach that number. Daniel Dye is making his debut under circumstances that make this more complicated than a typical first start. And then there's Tyler Reddick. 5 wins in 9 races this season. 5. He passed Kyle Larson on the final lap at Kansas in the kind of move that people are still replaying. The last time someone had that kind of win rate this early in a season was Dale Earnhardt in 1987. Let that register. He is coming into Talladega as a man who looks like he cannot be stopped right now. And Talladega is exactly the track that specializes in stopping people who look unstoppable. So here's what we're actually watching this weekend. We are watching a YouTube creator navigate a system that doesn't bend easily for anyone. We are watching two friends race together for the first time on the most dangerous track in stock car racing, carrying the memory of someone they lost. We are watching a championship caliber driver try to do something that hasn't been done at this level in nearly 4 decades. And we're watching a track that has embarrassed everyone who thought they had it figured out do it all over again. Cleetus didn't get what he came for this weekend. Not exactly. But he's still here, still in the car, still building the thing he said he was going to build. And maybe that's the version of the story worth watching more closely than any of the rest of it. Because the guy who doesn't quit when the door closes, who shows up anyway, who pivots and keeps moving, that's usually the guy nobody sees coming until it's too late to ignore him. Drop your prediction in the comments. Does Cleetus and George pull off something memorable in the ARCA race Saturday? And what do you think happens when Tyler Reddick hits that Talladega draft? Let's talk about it.